My name is Elara, and on Christmas Eve the man I love told me to leave my own house. He did not raise his voice. He did not look angry. He said it calmly, like he was reminding me to take my coat. Pack a bag, he said. You should stay somewhere else tonight. I remember the way the Christmas lights blinked behind him while he spoke. Soft, warm, almost kind. For a moment I thought I had misunderstood. Christmas Eve is not a night people end marriages. It is a night for forgiveness, for silence, for pretending everything is fine. I asked him why. He did not answer right away. He walked past me, straightened a decoration on the shelf, and said something that changed the way I see memory forever. I just need space, he said. And you make everything complicated. That was it. No fight. No explanation. No discussion. I stood there holding a small wrapped gift I had bought for him that morning. Something thoughtful. Something personal. He did not look at it. I did not cry. I did not argue. I did not ask where I was supposed to go. I nodded. That was the first mistake he made. Because when a woman stops arguing, it does not mean she agrees. It means she is listening. I went upstairs and packed one small bag. I chose my clothes carefully. Not the warmest ones. Not the prettiest ones. The ones that let me move freely. When I came back down, he was on his phone. Smiling. Typing fast. I noticed he had locked the door to his office. That door was never locked. Do you want me to leave my key? I asked. He shook his head. No need. Outside the air was cold and sharp. Snow had started falling, slow and quiet, like the world was holding its breath. I stood on the porch for a moment, looking back at the house I had decorated, cleaned, and protected for years. The house that no longer wanted me. As I walked to my car, my phone vibrated. A message. Not from him. From a number I did not recognize. Said only 6 words. You were not supposed to find out. I sat in the driver's seat, staring at the screen, my heart beating so hard it hurt. Because suddenly being told to leave was no longer the worst part. It was the beginning. And whoever sent that message knew far more than I did. At that moment I still believed Christmas Eve was the betrayal. I had no idea it was only the cover. I drove for almost an hour without knowing where I was going. The roads were quiet. Most houses were glowing with Christmas lights. Warm windows. Families inside. I felt like I had stepped out of the world without permission. I finally parked in an empty grocery store lot and turned off the engine. My hands were shaking. Not from the cold. From the message. You were not supposed to find out. I read it again. And again. I typed back one word. Who is this? The typing bubble appeared almost immediately. Then disappeared. Then appeared again. Finally, another message came through. Ask him about the office. My stomach tightened. The office. The locked door. That door had never been locked before. Not once. It was where he kept old paperwork, a printer, and things we barely used. I called him. Straight to voicemail. I called again. Voicemail. I stared at the steering wheel, my mind racing faster than my heart. I wanted to drive back. I wanted to bang on the door and demand answers. But something inside me told me not to. Instead, I called the only person who still felt safe. My older sister, Marin. She answered on the second ring. Where are you? She asked. Her voice shifted immediately. She knew something was wrong. He told me to leave, I said. My voice sounded calm. Too calm. There was a pause. Then she said quietly, I'm coming to get you. I stayed in the car until she arrived. She did not ask questions right away. She just hugged me while snow settled on the hood. At her house, I sat on the couch with a blanket around my shoulders. The Christmas tree was already lit. Presents underneath it. I felt like an intruder in my own life. When I told her about the message, her face changed. Show me, she said. She read it twice. Then once more. This isn't random, she said. Someone is warning you. Or threatening me, I said. She nodded. Either way, it means one thing. What? He didn't just want space, she said. He wanted time. Time to hide something. Time to move something. Time to control the story. I slept on her couch that night. I barely slept at all. At just after 3 in the morning, another message came through. Check the trash. That was it. No name. No explanation. The next morning while Marin made coffee, I sat staring at my phone. The trash. I thought about it for a long time. Then something clicked. Recycling day. Every Christmas Eve my husband took the trash out himself. He never let me do it. I asked Marin for her car keys. I drove back to the house while it was still early. Still quiet. I parked down the street and walked back slowly. The trash bins were already out. I opened the first one. Nothing. The second. Old wrapping paper. Empty boxes. Then I saw it. A folder. Black. Bent slightly. Stuffed beneath torn cardboard. My hand shook as I pulled it out. Inside were copies of documents. Not originals. Copies. Bank statements. Account changes. A loan application. All dated within the last few months. And one page folded separately. A lease agreement. Not our address. Another woman's name. I stood there in the cold, my breath coming fast, my ears ringing. This was not an affair. This was preparation. My phone vibrated again. One final message appeared. Now you understand why you had to leave. I looked back at the house. At the door I no longer had access to. And I realized something that made my blood run cold. Christmas Eve was not the night he ended our marriage. It was the night he thought he had finished erasing me. What I did not know yet was that the person texting me was not trying to save me. They were trying to control what I found next. I did not go back to my sister's house right away. I sat in my car with the folder on my lap, staring at the documents like they might rearrange themselves into something less terrifying if I waited long enough. They did not. I took photos of everything. Every page. Every number. Every signature. Then I placed the folder back exactly where I found it. If someone was watching me, I wanted them to believe I had learned nothing. Back at Marin's house, I spread my notes across the kitchen table. I did not tell her everything yet. I needed to understand it myself first. The bank statements showed a slow bleed. Small transfers. Always under amounts that would trigger alerts. Always on weekdays. Always during hours he said he was at work. I logged into our shared account. My password still worked. That surprised me. Then I noticed what I had never noticed before. My name was still there. But my access had changed. Read only. I could see the money. I just could not move it. That was not a mistake. That was design. I checked our credit reports next. His was clean. Carefully managed. Mine showed a new inquiry. A loan I had never applied for. My hand started shaking again. I checked the address on the lease agreement. It was less than 20 minutes from our house. A small townhouse. Quiet neighborhood. I did not drive by. Not yet. Instead, I searched the woman's name. It did not take long. She worked in his department. Different title. Different floor. Her social media was open. Too open. Photos of dinners. New furniture. A Christmas tree already decorated. One picture stopped me cold. It was taken in what looked like an office. His office. I recognized the desk. The lamp. The framed photo that used to be of us. Now it was turned face down. I closed the app and put my phone down. This was not reckless cheating. This was a parallel life. Over the next 2 days I moved quietly. I requested copies of everything I legally could. Statements. Records. Change logs. I forwarded them to an email address he did not know existed. I printed backups. I labeled dates. Patterns began to form. He had started preparing almost a year ago. Slowly. Carefully. Every decision pointed to one goal. Leaving me with nothing. On the third night my phone buzzed again. The same unknown number. You're looking in the right places, it said. But you still don't see the real risk. I did not reply. A minute later another message appeared. He thinks you're weak because you left quietly. That made me smile. Because silence had never been weakness for me. It had always been strategy. Still something felt off. The messages were too timed. Too informed. Whoever this was knew when I logged in. They knew when I searched. Which meant one thing. Someone had access. Either to him. Or to me. That night, Marin asked me a question I had been avoiding. What are you going to do? I looked at the documents again. The dates. At the way my life had been rearranged without my consent. I'm going to let him believe his plan is working, I said. And then, I said slowly, I'm going to prove he made a very expensive mistake. My phone lit up one last time before I went to sleep. Be careful, the message said. Once this starts, there's no going back. I turned the phone face down, because by then I already knew the truth. This was no longer about betrayal. It was about survival. What I did not realize yet was that one of the people helping me would soon try to protect him instead. Maren insisted we slow down. Not because she doubted me, because she was afraid of how calm I had become. You need help, she said one morning as she poured coffee. Real help, not just screenshots and instincts. She was right, so we started with someone neutral. A lawyer. Not a divorce attorney. Not yet. A financial litigation specialist Maren had worked with years ago. His name was Thomas Hale. He listened without interrupting. He did not react when I showed him the documents. That alone told me something was very wrong. When he finally spoke, his voice was careful. This isn't impulsive, he said. This is structured. He pointed at the dates, the transfers, the loan inquiry under my name. He was creating distance before creating damage, Thomas said. And he used you as the cover. My chest tightened. Can he do that? I asked. Only if no one stops him, Thomas said. And only if you keep playing the role he assigned you. Which role was that? The quiet wife. The one who leaves without a fight. The one who does not ask questions. Thomas explained the next step slowly. What I could request. What I should not touch yet. What evidence mattered most. Do nothing that alerts him, he said. No sudden moves. No confrontations. I nodded. I was already ahead of him. As we were leaving, Thomas stopped me. One more thing, he said. You need to assume someone is feeding him information. The words landed heavier than I expected. On the drive home, Maren did not speak. That night, I reviewed everything again. This time with one question in mind. Who benefits if I move too fast? The answer came quietly. The woman. If he felt cornered, he would protect her. Transfer assets. Change the story. And if someone else was helping him stay ahead of me, that person had a reason. The messages started again the next day. He met with his lawyer this morning. Then minutes later. You should prepare. No greeting. No explanation. I typed back for the first time. Who are you? The response came almost instantly. Someone who knows how this ends if you're careless. I stared at the screen. This was not an ally. This was a handler. I showed the messages to Maren. Her face hardened. They're managing you, she said. Guiding you just enough to keep you predictable. That was when I understood something crucial. The real setup was not what my husband was doing. It was what everyone expected me to do. Cry. React. Break down. So I decided to give them exactly what they expected. I sent my husband a message. Short. Polite. I'm sorry things got tense. We can talk after the holidays. He replied within minutes. Thank you for understanding. Understanding. I smiled. Because now I knew something he did not. While he believed I was waiting quietly, I was building a record. Every message. Every move. Every assumption he made about my silence. Thomas helped me request one more thing. Legally. Carefully. A full audit trail. It would take time. Time he believed he had. That evening, Maren asked me if I was scared. I thought about it. I'm not scared of him, I said. I'm scared of who else is involved. As if summoned by the thought, my phone vibrated again. Stop talking to lawyers, the message said. You're making this harder than it needs to be. I did not respond, because now I knew for certain. The person texting me was not watching from the outside. They were inside the plan. The next day, I would discover that one of the people I trusted most had already chosen his side. The audit request changed everything. Not because it exposed him, because it forced him to move. 2 days after Thomas filed the request, my husband called me for the first time since Christmas Eve. I did not answer. He left a voicemail instead. His voice was calm, concerned, almost gentle. Elara, he said, we need to talk. This doesn't have to get complicated. Complicated. That word again. I sent the voicemail to Thomas without replying. Good, Thomas said later that day. He's testing the perimeter. That was when we built the counterplan. Not revenge. Not punishment. Containment. The goal was simple. Let him continue believing I was compliant. Let him keep moving assets the way he thought was invisible. And document every step. Thomas explained the timing. People like him don't stop, he said. They accelerate when they think they're ahead. So I stayed quiet. I posted nothing online. I did not call mutual friends. I did not show anger. Instead, I did something far more dangerous. I looked normal. I stayed at Marin's house, helped her cook, laughed at the right moments. I even wrapped gifts for her kids. Inside, I was mapping exits. Every account he touched became a marker. Every email he sent became leverage. Thomas filed a request for a temporary financial freeze. Not immediately. Prepared. Timed. It would activate only if he crossed a specific threshold. And I knew he would. The woman appeared again. Not in person. In a calendar invite. Marin noticed it first. A shared family calendar still synced to my phone. Dinner. Christmas night. At the townhouse. I felt something cold move through me. He had not just replaced me. He had scheduled her. That night, the messages came faster. You should let this go. He's already moved on. You'll be better off if you don't fight. I recognized the pattern. Pressure disguised as advice. I replied once. I'm not fighting. The response came immediately. Good. That was the moment I understood the final shape of the plan. Whoever this was did not want justice. They wanted quiet. Quiet protects him. Quiet protects her. So I decided to weaponize quiet. Thomas helped me prepare a disclosure packet. Everything. Neatly indexed. Legally sourced. It would be delivered only if triggered. All I had to do was wait. Then something unexpected happened. Marin received a call. From my husband. He asked to meet her. Alone. She told me immediately. He says it's about you, she said. And he sounded nervous. That was the pivot. Because now he was reaching beyond me. Reaching into my support. Which meant one thing. He knew he was running out of room. I told Marin to agree. To listen. Not to promise anything. When she hung up, she looked at me carefully. What if he tries to turn this on you? She asked. I thought about the townhouse. The documents. The messages. He already has, I said. That night I packed a second bag. Not clothes. Evidence. Because the next phase would not happen quietly. And someone was about to make a mistake they could not undo. The meeting between my sister and my husband would reveal exactly how desperate he had become. Marin met him at a cafe halfway between her house and the office district. Public. Neutral. Safe. She arrived early and chose a table near the window. She told me later that he looked thinner. Tired. Not guilty. He did not ask about me at first. He talked about logistics. About timing. About how hard the last few weeks had been for him. Then he leaned forward and lowered his voice. Elara is confused, he said. She's listening to the wrong people. Marin did not react. She's emotional, he continued. And emotions can ruin everything. Everything. He offered her something then. Not money. Something worse. Control. If you help me calm her down, he said, this can end cleanly. Quietly. For everyone. Marin asked him one question. What happens to my sister? He smiled. The smile I used to trust. She'll be fine, he said. She just needs to stop digging. That was when Marin understood. He was not afraid of divorce. He was afraid of discovery. While they were talking, Thomas called me. His voice was tight. He's moving funds, he said. Right now. My heart dropped. That's not possible, I said. He doesn't know. He knows something, Thomas replied. And he's trying to outrun it. The threshold had been crossed. The financial freeze was ready. But timing mattered. Trigger it too early and he would shift blame. Trigger it too late and assets would disappear. I watched the account activity in real time. Transfers. Rapid. Aggressive. This was not caution. This was panic. Then my phone buzzed. A new message. From the same number. Stop. This is your last warning. I felt my hands go cold. They knew. Not everything. But enough. I did not reply. Instead I called Marin. Leave now, I said. Do not tell him why. She stood up while he was mid-sentence. She said nothing. She walked out. That was when he made his mistake. He called me. Again. I answered this time. Elara, he said quickly. We can fix this. Behind his voice I heard something else. Movement. Voices. The office. He was not alone. I don't want to fight, he said. I just want us both to be okay. I looked at the live feed on my laptop. Another transfer initiated. Are you moving money right now? I asked. Silence. Then a sharp inhale. No, he said. He lied too fast. That was all Thomas needed. Trigger it, he said quietly. I hesitated for half a second. Then I pressed the button. The screen refreshed. Transfer failed. Account restricted. Another attempt. Failed. I heard his breath change on the line. What did you do? He asked. Nothing, I said. Which was true. I had done everything days ago. The consequences were just arriving. Then he said something that told me how close we were to the edge. If this goes public, he said, you'll regret it. Public. There it was. Not guilt. Not remorse. Fear of exposure. My phone vibrated again. A final message from the unknown number. You weren't supposed to pull the trigger yet. I stared at the words. Because in that moment I realized the truth. The person texting me had not been helping me avoid danger. They had been timing it. And now I had ruined their schedule. Within hours the identity of the person behind the messages would be exposed. And it would change everything I thought I knew. The truth did not arrive with shouting. It arrived with paperwork. By the time the financial freeze went into effect, Thomas already had what he needed. A complete trail. Every transfer. Every attempt to move money after the warning signs. And one name that kept appearing in places it did not belong. The woman. Her name was Claire. She was not just his coworker. She was the reason the plan had stayed hidden for so long. Claire had access. Not to our accounts directly. To the system around them. She worked in compliance. That was how the messages made sense. The timing. The warnings. The pressure to slow me down without stopping me completely. She was not protecting me. She was protecting the illusion. Thomas called me that afternoon. We found the source, he said. And you're going to want to sit down. He explained it carefully. Claire had flagged internal alerts before they escalated. She had delayed reviews. She had given my husband windows of time. Enough to prepare. Enough to plan my removal. But she had made one mistake. She assumed I would react emotionally. Instead, I documented. Thomas coordinated with an external investigator. Everything was verified. Clean. Legal. By the evening of December 27th, the confrontation was unavoidable. Not dramatic. Procedural. My husband was called into a meeting he believed was about routine compliance. Claire was already there. So were two people they did not expect. Internal audit. And legal. I was not in the room. I did not need to be. Thomas described it later. The moment the evidence was placed on the table. The moment the room went quiet. My husband tried to speak first. He framed it as confusion. As misunderstanding. Claire did not speak at all. Because the messages were projected on the screen. The same words she had sent me. Timestamps. Device records. Her face drained of color. That was the execution. Not revenge. Exposure. By the time the meeting ended, the outcome was already decided. Claire was escorted out of the building. Her access revoked on the spot. My husband was placed on immediate administrative leave. His accounts remained frozen. And one final document was served. A notice of intent. I received his call an hour later. This time his voice was not calm. You set me up, he said. No, I replied. You underestimated me. He said my name the way he used to say it when he wanted something. Please, he said. We can still talk. Talk. After months of silence. After Christmas Eve. There is nothing left to discuss, I said. Then he said the one thing he had avoided until now. I didn't think you'd survive this. That was the moment it ended. Not because he was exposed, but because he finally admitted what he had tried to do. Erase me. What happened next would unfold in real time, and everyone would be watching. The fallout did not wait for morning. It started within minutes. My phone filled with missed calls. Numbers I recognized. Numbers I did not. Friends. Colleagues. People who suddenly remembered my name. I did not answer. I sat at Marin's kitchen table and watched the messages stack up like evidence of a life I had almost lost. My husband called again. Then stopped. That silence told me more than his words ever had. By midnight, the story had already shifted. Not publicly. Internally. People talk faster than systems move. Someone leaked just enough to make everyone nervous. Administrative leave became investigation. Investigation became suspension. By morning, it would be something else entirely. Marin made tea I did not drink. She kept watching me like she was waiting for me to break. I did not. At 9 in the evening, Thomas called. They're cooperating, he said. Both of them. Why? I asked. Because once the audit started, he replied. They realized it would not stop. My husband tried to spin it. He claimed confusion, stress, poor judgment. He claimed Claire acted alone. Claire said nothing. That silence was strategic. She knew something he did not. By midnight, I received an email. Not from him. From his lawyer. A request for a conversation. Urgent. Private. Thomas read it and shook his head. They're trying to contain damage, he said. Not fix anything. Containment again. That word followed him everywhere. I slept for 2 hours. Just enough to dream of keys I could not find. When I woke up, my phone showed 3 missed calls from an unfamiliar number. Then a message. We need to talk before this goes further. I knew who it was before I asked. Claire. I showed the message to Thomas. Do not respond, he said. Let her make the next move. She did. Another message arrived 10 minutes later. He's blaming me. I felt nothing. No satisfaction. No anger. Just clarity. At 7 in the morning, Thomas called again. They're filing for separation today, he said. On his terms. I almost laughed. Even now, he wanted control. He can file, I said. But he cannot move. And that was when the real fallout hit. The temporary freeze became a full hold, triggered by attempted interference. My husband lost access to accounts he believed were safe. Not just ours. Several linked to his name. The call came at noon. This time I answered. His voice was raw. They took everything, he said. You didn't have to do this. I closed my eyes. I did not take anything, I said. I protected what was already mine. He was silent. Then quietly, I thought you'd disappear. That was the truth. Not the affair. Not the money. The assumption. That I would leave quietly and never be heard from again. By afternoon, the townhouse lease was terminated. Claire's access was permanently revoked. And my husband was instructed formally not to contact me directly. The noise faded as quickly as it had risen. What remained was something heavier. Consequences. The next day would reveal what his life looked like without control, and what mine would become without fear. The day after everything collapsed, the world felt unnaturally quiet. No phone calls. No messages. No urgency. Just space. I woke up at Marin's house just after sunrise. The light came in soft and pale, like it did not want to disturb me. For the first time in weeks, my chest did not feel tight. But silence has weight. It forces you to look at what remains. Thomas called mid-morning with an update. His voice was calm, professional. The separation filing is on hold, he said. His lawyer advised against moving forward until the investigation stabilizes. Stabilizes. That meant weeks. Possibly months. Time without access. Time without control. What about me? I asked. You're protected, he said. Financially. Legally. Emotionally, that part is yours. I thanked him and ended the call. Marin was making breakfast. She did not ask questions. She never did when she sensed I was still rearranging myself. I took a walk alone. The neighborhood was quiet. Decorations still up. Christmas trees and windows already drying out. It felt strange to walk freely while my life was still being discussed in rooms I was not in. I passed a small park and sat on a bench. That was when the anger finally arrived. Not explosive. Not loud. Focused. I thought about the way he had said my name on Christmas Eve. The way he assumed I would obey. The way he had planned my exit like an inconvenience. I also thought about the woman. About how she had believed she was untouchable. Protected by proximity. By access. She was wrong. By noon the calls started again. Not from him. From mutual friends. Careful voices. Careful questions. I told them nothing. I had learned something important. You do not owe clarity to people who only show up once the damage is visible. In the afternoon a single email arrived. From my husband. Short. Unfiltered. I never meant for it to go this far. I read it once. Then deleted it. Intent does not erase impact. That evening Thomas sent one last update. Charges are unlikely, he said. But consequences are permanent. That was enough. I packed the rest of my belongings the next day. Not in anger. In order. I took only what was mine. Nothing more. Nothing less. When I closed the trunk of my car, I felt something unfamiliar. Relief. I did not know yet where I would live. What I would rebuild. But I knew one thing. I was no longer reacting. I was choosing. That night as I prepared to sleep my phone vibrated one last time. An unknown number. A single message. He still thinks you ruined his life. I stared at the words. Because that meant something important. He still did not understand. And that misunderstanding was about to become his final mistake. The epilogue would not be about him. It would be about what I chose to do with the freedom he never expected me to have. I did not see him again after that. Not in person. Not across a table. Not in court. Everything that needed to be said was handled by people trained to deal with facts instead of emotions. And that was exactly how it should have been. I moved into a small apartment near the river. Nothing fancy. Nothing temporary. I bought furniture slowly. One piece at a time. Only things I liked. Only things I chose. For the first time in years, every decision belonged to me. The investigation continued quietly. Carefully. Without drama. He lost his position. Not publicly. But permanently. Claire disappeared from the industry almost overnight. Access once taken is rarely returned. No headlines. No spectacle. Just doors that never opened again. People asked me if I felt satisfied. That question always surprised me. This was never about satisfaction. It was about refusal. Refusal to be erased. Refusal to be managed. Refusal to disappear quietly because someone else decided I was inconvenient. On Christmas Eve he told me to leave. And I did. But I did not leave myself behind. I left evidence. I left a trail. I left a version of me that no longer accepted silence as a condition. What I learned is simple, and I will say it clearly. If someone asks you to leave without explanation, it is not about space. It is about control. If they expect you to argue, it is because they are prepared for your anger. They are not prepared for your focus. Silence when chosen is not weakness. It is position. I rebuilt my life without urgency. Without noise. Without permission. And I did it legally. Cleanly. Completely. If you are watching this and you recognize yourself in my story, hear this. Do not rush to confront. Do not rush to explain. Do not rush to forgive someone who has already planned your absence. Pay attention. Document quietly. Protect yourself first. And remember this. The moment someone underestimates you is the moment you gain time. Time to see clearly. Time to choose wisely. Time to survive with dignity. If this story resonated with you, stay with this channel. There are more stories like this. Stories where silence becomes strength. And clarity becomes freedom. Because the most powerful revenge is not destruction. It is walking away with your future intact.